Hello, this is Lisa Lee, and welcome to our very first Patreon enrichment video. So this is going to be fun, and normally these are going to come out on Sundays, but if we're near like a particularly potent eclipse or holiday, like right now is Halloween, I wanted to wait for this energy so we could really work with, it's like a very nice energy to work with. I'll probably sort of like put these out like, Sundays, unless we've got something cool going on with the energy during the year. So before I start, I want to begin by sort of bringing us into ourselves, and bringing us into this reading. It's an intentional thing, it's a timeless thing, but it's something that we can very much participate in. So I want you to take a deep breath in, and as you're taking that deep breath in, I want you to find that place in yourself where you feel like you reside in your body. If you feel like you reside in your whole body, that's some people have a spot where they can kind of breathe in and find themselves. So I invite you into some breathing in deep and closing your eyes and just sort of finding that space where you feel very much you. And as you do that, I'm going to intend to connect with you, and I'm going to begin pulling cards. Now, my first intention with this reading was to do sort of like a let the Morgan, let the divine kind of do our community standards for us through a reading, and I will do that. But because if there's a tenderness, I feel sort of tenderness, and I also feel that that Spirit wants to come through with something a little bit different in the way of I'm hearing like, let's minister to your heart a little bit. Right now, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of change. There's a lot that's pulling people into their best selves a little bit intensely. And so we're going to do one of these readings that look at why you are loved, valued, and supported. Because a lot of times we don't feel loved, valued, and supported. And so this is really about connecting with Spirit and Spirit speaking to your heart. Because I want to be heart-led with this community. And so we're going to start by speaking to your heart. And that's really what this reading is all about today. And it's beautiful energy to get right into that. So let's go ahead and pull a card, or a few cards. So right now as I do this, like I just announced this like a couple of days ago. And we're in the very, very early stages of building something that I can already see is going to be quite beautiful. The reward: celebrate your magnificence, stop and take in the view, and attune to the call. So let me just take a look at this. I really love what's going on here. I'm going to take a sip of my tea. So I'm still working with the Morgan. My sense is that I'm going to be working with the Morgan for kind of a long time. And so, her energy is very much that energy of mother, but the Morgan is also a title. And the way that it's been shown to me, and again, like a lot of this stuff is, we lost a lot of information about what our ancestors believed and how they believed it and what it was to connect with the gods and goddesses, of the land where we sprung from, essentially. And this is much more expansive than just the Morgan, in the way that, deities are not angry gods that are in competition with each other. That I know from firsthand experience. And so your ancestors, your ascended ancestors and your ascended guides and the ascended gods and goddesses that want to work with you, while I am working with the Morgan, there's also this aspect of, there's more to it than just that. So I want to invite you into a space, and I do feel the Morgan very strongly, so I'm going to sort of refer, when that's the channel that's coming through. I want to invite you to a space of transformation. So many of us grow up in like really harsh religions where we have to look at the High Priestess on the bottom. That just came out, not on the bottom. On the bottom we have the Knight of Cups, which is an offer of love and peeking out. We have the Eight of Wands, which is there's a lot that is going to be coming towards you quickly in the way of, and I want to say quickly by like in this reading, by way of feeling supported. And because I'm hearing that this is like sort of essential. So when we step into this space, we're stepping into a space of faith, essentially, that says there are deities that exist that are aware of me, that want the best for me, that there is a plan for my life, that there is more for my life than I think that there is. And the reason that this kind of rubs the wrong way is because a lot of us were brought up in Christianity, or you know, very dogmatic, you know, organized religion, or like very dogmatic atheism. And all of those things have big rules about, you know, you just depend on yourself. You're the individual, and it's just you, and it's just one life. And so sometimes we sort of balk at the idea that there's more than that, and that there can be a support that actually influences in our life in a tangible, grounded way. One of the things I always say about witchcraft is that, you know, I was always surprised by the fact that the prayers worked. And that's not to say that prayers don't work, if, you know, in Christianity, but that's, you know, that doctrine of faith without sight is not what we're dealing with. We're dealing with faith by sight. And so I want to invite you into this notion that you can be supported in a tangible way. And with the King of Cups here, yeah, let's see what else we've got. Oh, and the King of Pentacles. I love this so much. Bottom of the deck, we have the Five of Pentacles. Everything about what I'm seeing here is kind of beautiful. You know, with the Five of Pentacles, we have looking from a place of alienation, from a place of rejection, from a place of being left out of participation, being left out of greater community. There's a lot here about not really finding your place, or finding your place and then finding your place isn't that place. Or finding your place and feeling like this can't possibly be all that there is to my place. So with the King of Cups here being about developing a level of emotional intelligence all the way down to the bottom of the ocean, but the traditional King of Cups sits on a little tiny island all of his own. And from that little tiny island, the King of Cups has more emotional intelligence and connection with the depths of the divine, and a sense of, you know, I'm feeling very like Plutonian, Neptunian. Like there's this depth and darkness at the bottom of the sea. This energy, and this energy is you, I'm speaking of, navigates really, really well, and holding all of your emotions. I'm seeing the seabed, and holding all of your emotions by yourself. You do that really, really, really well. Again, you know, this is a collective reading, so it's speaking to everyone in a kind of a way. Actually, I'm feeling this particular part. Usually I like have a disclaimer and I say it's not for everyone, but Spirit is saying that even if you have a lot of people around you, it's like you almost feel like you do this for, like, it's like a job. I've got to keep up. I've got to keep my place and earn my place and have this. And, you know, and the closer the relationships are, the more kind of like frenzied they kind of feel. And so with the High Priestess here being about a call, you know, we have attuned to the call, a calling on your life related to spirituality, and creating, you know, this whole Patreon and my whole channel is about creativity as a spiritual practice. And so with the Five of Pentacles being about a kind of an isolation, and the King of Cups being about a much deeper, more sustained, even comfortable kind of an isolation, and yeah, there are those of you that's the reality of your external life, and there are those of you where that's the reality of like your internal life to some degree. And then for those of you that are young, like there's enough of you in the future, you know, I'm kind of speaking to the small group and then beyond that, and even someone near, you know, if you're young, you're not really feeling that disconnect yet, or hopefully you never will, because there's some kind of a covering there. Not always, but I'm feeling with one person there is a kind of a covering. So anyway, I'm trying to address everyone's energy. What I am seeing here with the King of Pentacles, though, is there's a call on your life, a spiritual call in your life, you know, to create spiritually is a unique and beautiful thing. And no matter what you're creating, if you're channeling from a place of spiritual authenticity, it's going to be good. So you're called. This is a moment of Spirit saying, you know, I see you, and I want to celebrate you, and it's time for a reward, and it's time to pull you out of this isolation. Time to make use of some of this, the weight of the emotional intelligence, and the way that you take care of yourself. There's so much strength and power in that we're looking at creating a King of Pentacles reality for you. King of Pentacles reality for you. King of Pentacles is taken care of. King of Pentacles is somebody who has so much stability, like financially, mentally, emotionally. This is supported, more than supported. It's like the king of support. It doesn't even need support. That the way that you support yourself is so well done here with the King of Pentacles that Spirit's saying, I'm not going to pull you out of your hyper independence anytime soon, because that's something that we're going to work towards, but we're going to make that hyper independence really pay off so that you can begin from that place of stability, from that place of being tangibly taken care of, to loosen the grip around what it means to create freely. And so that's kind of what Spirit wants to bring in, that this can actually be a reality. Wherever you find yourself, you know, on this journey of life, being able to support yourself and create a stable base of provision for you to like have that mode of expression take care of you. Spirit is saying that's not impossible at all. There's a lot that's conditioned you against believing that, but it's not impossible. And so with the Mother here and the Judge, and on the bottom of the deck we have the Riddle. Let's take a look at what that's about. Because I sense this feeling of like, don't prosperity gospel me, don't do it, and I'm not. But there, you know, that like we fight with all of these false teachings that were I'm just kind of like looking at them. The Morgan is like really big, like just the energy of the Morgan. And when the Morgan came into my life, she brought me into this swirl of everything that we developed over thousands of years was taken and repackaged. Like they, you know, picked in the little things that like were so effective spiritually, and they, you know, put it into this into service for the empire. Like that's just what we're looking at writ large. And she's saying that I want to take all those things back. You know, I want to take what it means to depend on the divine, because you have a personal relationship with the divine. I want to take that back, you know, from a doctrine that, you know, didn't develop it there, sort of. Not to say that that wasn't in development everywhere, but so much of the damaging, you know, that has been done around what it means to have faith, what it means to be protected, what it means to be supported, and what it means to have a connection to the divine that does all this for you. It's really hard to believe, but we're the only species that doesn't depend on the mother. You know, with this Mother card here, you know, in meditation, I was seeing a flower grow. I was thinking about the trees. I was thinking about the birds. I was thinking about all of the creatures on this earth are born into this earth, and there is a provision. Is there competition? Yeah, sometimes, like for sure. You know, like we watch the Nature Channel. There is some kind of a competition going on there. But it's not survival of the fittest. You know, it's not something that we readily understand. It's something that we can be brought into understanding of. But we're the only species that has been talked out of the notion that we are inherently supported, and that our growth is inherently supported, and that our thriving is inherently supported by a mother. You know, Spirit's coming through to say, like, believe that this is so by starting with looking around outside of yourself and looking outside of the matrix of conditioning that has talked you out of this notion that you were brought into this earth with a provision for your survival and for your thriving. And that everything that operates against that in the way of the Judge here, you know, with the Judge, we're looking at, you got to pay your bills. You know, you have to operate in this matrix that extracts a great price. If you're born, and then you have to pay for it. You have to pay for your existence, and you have to pay into structures that take from your creativity and take from the capacity and the potential that you have, you know, to pay into a system, and that really does feel like this is your survival depends on it. But with the Morgan, you know, because I'm hearing her very strongly, what Spirit is really bringing through. And I think, you know, I am working with a Morgan, but again, I want you to, like, you know, she's saying, like, open your mind to this notion that you can be met by the divine, by any name, and that this, I'm hearing chatter and like and a rule book being slapped down on a table and saying the rule book is God. That's your provision, and you operate within this rule book, and you will be provided for. That rule book decides whether you survive or not. That rule book determines whether you're thriving or not. And so this leap of faith that we're being called into, related to deferring to the judge that says that you can't be provided for by nature through the channels that exist as the structures that are around you. And the Morgan, and that's what, you know, she's basically saying, like, no, the mother can work through any channel to provide for you. She can work through any structure to provide for you. Look out around you. Look at the little mice. You know, maybe there's like a little thing with no mice in the house, and, you know, that's not part of their provision. But look at all of the creatures of the earth, and look at how well taken care of they are. And so she's saying, and make that leap of faith. And it is a leap of faith, because there's so much, I feel tension, and I feel fear, and I feel confusion, and I feel uncertainty, and I feel a lot of frustration around what it means to get through a given day with whatever energy you have, and like what's left at the end might not feel like it's much to work with. And so with the mother here being about, you know, how the provision for you is like built into you know, she's saying like that what does it mean for you to feel like there's provision for the dolphins, you know, and the whales and the fish, and then there's not provision for you. And to the extent that there are external structures in place that take from the provision of the fish and the ocean, that take from the provision of the earth to create a kind of false provision that you then have to be enslaved to. And she's saying that, you know, we can move this mountain from within, and it starts by noticing that you are loved enough to be provided for. And then that leap of faith is that if I'm loved enough to be provided for, if the mechanisms of provision that are very naturally there from the heart of the mother are also there for me, then I am protected in my growth and in my thriving and in my ability to produce from that. So it's a riddle right now, only because, you know, we're at this sort of moment in time where we are in a show me the money kind of a place with the divine. And I think it's important to be able to say we're in a show me the money kind of a place with the divine. Because yeah, she's saying to just get into that. You know, when I stand here from this position that says, like, the divine will provide for you in relationship to it. In relationship to the divine, it's not something that comes, you know, like you know, I'm making a wish on a bottle, or like demanding, you know, that you be taken care of in a specific way for a specific outcome, or else like all is lost. Like, we're actually talking about a much looser kind of yeah, so she's saying this is more like a relational give and take, in the sense that, you know, for you to be able to have eyes to see and ears to hear the provision that the mother wants to bring towards you, you have to like loosen your grip from a lot of this conditioning that's there, especially the stuff that like does loom like tangible threat, like, you know, just the demands of life, you know, paying rent, buying food, caring for your loved ones. She's saying that that in relationship with the divine, however you find the divine to be most comfortable to connect with, that the provision is there, then able to reach you through inspiration, through opportunity, through participation. And so that relationship is necessary. But once that relationship is established with either nature or a deity that you're comfortable with, you know, or just your ascended ancestors, your ascended guides, however most makes sense to you, once that connection is made, that provision is then able to begin to operate in your life in a way where it's permissive. And so let's take a look at what that means. Let's take a look at what that means in a more practical sense. Yeah, there's a lot of tension right now. There's a lot of scary going on in the world right now, for sure. The dream. It's so funny. funny. There's an interesting thing going on while I'm pulling these cards. I feel, I feel a particular group within this energy, which makes sense because this is not such a collective like TikTok or YouTube. It's smaller. So I'm able to almost pick up on particular voices, which is really interesting. And so I love how intimate, yeah, this exhaustion. I love that that's there. I love how intimate this space feels. It's quite beautiful. And so with the exhaustion here being about like, oh, that's so nice and fluffy. What a lovely meditation that can be. But then I have to like get up. I'm tired. I have to cook for myself. I'm too freaking tired. Like, I'm actually seeing someone, always kind of at the teetering at the edge of burnout and like nearing tears and like really feeling, oh yeah. So like this started to come through and then I kind of lost it and I'm getting it back again. The Morgan is saying that like there's been so much in the way of like the selling of spirituality, the commodification of spirituality, that the notion that like you can be taken care of by spirituality in a way that that has an external impact, that it doesn't just like happen in your like heart and then not really translate into your day-to-day experience. That in the practice of allowing the divine to have influence in your life, because that's where you can get your blessings from. That means some spending time in meditation. That you will have a tangible return that you're able to see, that you're able to touch, that you're able to interact with. That is kind of like guaranteed in this process of interacting. And that's all that you're really asked to do is interact, because this exhaustion is real. This isn't not real. The demands that are put on your life are not imagined. You don't have to high vibe your way into a blessing. You don't have to, be constantly, manifesting in the perfect way and of the perfect energy and with the right. And this exhaustion and the cost that is extracted from your life energetically, because we're born into a very, very toxic system, isn't like no small potatoes. It's not something that we're not like fully contending with. There's like very real things here. But she invites you, and unlike the mother saying, like, use the word the mother, the Morgan saying, use the word the mother, because again, these are the deities that are expressing in the divine feminine. They are the mothers. This is Gaia even coming through. I can feel that like through the root. The mother says, I want you to participate in relationship with divinity in a way that is not grasping and hoping, and if you can do it right, and if you don't make any mistakes, and if you're in the perfect, alignment. She's saying, that's nonsense. You come to the mother imperfectly every single time, and you are still provided for, and you need to develop a relationship with what that means by this participation, interacting, because you're not going to just faith by faith and not by sight. She's actually calling you into faith by sight. And so with this dream and existence here being, this notion of like, well, it's a nice dream. That's a lovely little dream. Like I want to, pray in the morning and have my breakfast delivered by the time the sun comes up. That would be really nice. And the mother says, you mean like I do for the birds? That, and again, I'm seeing this existence as the flower. And she's saying the light can reach you even in the darkest of landscapes. I can provide for you even through, the most costly of structures, that provision isn't limited to the confines of nature as we know it. That the mother is more powerful and much more broad in her reach and her ability to reach than that. And so, when she says, I want you to begin to enter into reverie, and, on this channel, we're going to be talking, not in Patreon, we're going to be talking about reverie and making use of reverie and what it means to work with reverie. Reverie is kind of what we understand as being like the imagination when we're little. And what I always say about the imagination is when we're little, the reason and the function for the imagination and the development of the imagination, instead of having that, that's our genius. There was a study that was done that says like they were looking for genius and the marks of genius, and the difference between talent, which is like being able to be good at something, and genius, which is being able to see a solution beyond what is there. you know, they were looking to find this trait early so that they could cultivate it. And this was a very big study that was done. What they discovered was everyone was a genius until like 5, and then they were half the genius that they were, you know, once they started school, and then by the time they were 10, like it was gone. And what we are, you know, and now we're like questioning, like, why would this be? When they shut down your imagination, you know, like the imagination when you're little is play. Just like 2 little cubs, you know, or 2 little bears play fight so that they can learn in life what it means to defend themselves later. Your imagination was meant to be this place of development where you develop a relationship with the world beyond your senses that are, you know, your obvious senses, because it's still a sense, and that's your creative capacity and your connection to the divine, and your provision is baked into what it means to create of that space. And so we're very much disconnected from this notion of what, you know, might be considered like daydreaming, because it gets shut down so early. But that's such a vital part of the alchemy of what it means for us to create freely, that we're invited back into this space of reverie as almost a religious practice. And she's actually saying to this group very specifically, you know, when you're, you know, there's a lot of curiosity or confusion about like, well, what's a sacrifice? What's an offering? Like, how do I, you know, initiate this relationship with this deity or this God? Do I put, you know, have to put down you know, a meal? You know, how do I do this? What do I do with the food afterwards? Like, or is not food at all? And she's saying, I want you to give me your daydreams, your reverie. I want you to, you know, as an offering, you know, to enter into a space of allowing yourself to let your heart lead you on a little dreamscape. And to begin to do that more and more and more, because this is part of the interacting with the divine that allows for this access of inspiration to come in. And that inspiration leads you in such a way that there is provision. And so it's not like any practice that you have to do. It's like so hard. No, enter into this space of reverie, into this space of daydreaming and connecting to the divine, and allowing your heart to lead you on these journeys in your heart's mind, which is, that's again, the imagination is your heart's mind, towards desire. Because again, we're so disconnected. I feel a lot of disconnect from desire. I feel a lot of disconnect from what it means to be in that space of reverie and be in that space of daydreaming without fearing disappointment. A lot of you just do not daydream anymore because it just leads to disappointment. And she's saying that that's a trap, that's not true. And so we're invited back into that space of dreaming, of reverie, for the provision that is available to us. Now, with harmony and clinging to the past, this is going to be a zigzag. This is going to be a process. This isn't going to happen all at once. This is the 10 of Cups. And this is a beautiful energy. And this, of course, is like the 5 of Wands, or the 5 of Cups. You know, this deck... This is like the Dungeons and Dragons deck. It like doesn't signify for me, and I could learn this deck, but I do so much reading with my hands that I get lazy about stuff like that. But what I'm seeing here with the 10 of Cups, and I think this is actually the 10 of, the 5 of Cups, the way that we let the past and the past disappointments and the past tribulations and hardships define what we are capable of having in terms of satisfaction and happiness. It's like we can dream in a practical way, but don't dream in a not practical way, because it's just going to hurt. And so I want to look at that just a little bit more before we move on. I want to take a couple more cards on this concept here, because this is sort of what ends up isolating us. For some of you, this is just isolation from like intimacy, like being seen clearly, allowing yourself to be vulnerable. So sometimes I'm going to jump in and talk to people in particular because I can feel your energies like very particularly. For one of you, you do great socially. You're fine. You're on top of that. You know, but communicating from a place of vulnerable authenticity, because of somebody grew up like, you know, it's one or both parents. I think one parent was basically just absent is what it feels like. And there was another parent who so strongly came against your strengths that you feel like you don't have any, because they never were given the air to develop. And so that's a kind of loneliness. That's a kind of feeling of not being able to be reached in certain ways. And it doesn't really show up in the frenetic energy of go get it, go get it, go get it, go do it, go be, go have it, you know, and like, you know, and when there is lots of distraction and lots of interaction, this is the part that sort of gets neglected, that then rises up and sort of almost eats you, like during those points of disappointment when things aren't going well, or when things don't seem like they're going well, or if you like look out to the future and it seems a little bit unsteady, feeling like you can't be supported, that you can't be helped, that you can't be assisted in this place. So for one of you, or maybe a couple of you, actually, it does seem like a couple of you, you know, Spirit wants to speak directly to that fear and that difficulty. Because like a lifetime of developing your strengths and your abilities around a structure that is kind of, yeah, look at that. Hold on, let me just see this for a second. Right. So I can see that, you know, this is a person who's trying to communicate, and what they're trying to communicate has to make its way through this brick wall of, you know, after I do all these things that I need to do, and then kind of like eats away at this energy. And then what am I going to do? Because I have to, like, you know, now I have a wall here where I have to like step into a different space. And, you know, like this is chaos around accommodating all of the demands around you, to the exclusion of ever sort of connecting with I'm looking at somebody who's really having trouble right now. Let me take a minute with this. You're so gifted. There's even a level of genius here, but it's been like diverted. It hasn't been developed. And so everything, it's almost like a personality that is constructed to avoid those crushing disappointments that make you feel fully alienated from yourself and the world. And so shifting your gaze away from constructing your life to avoid these like very crushing disappointments. It's like, you know, capitalizing on, there's this energy sort of like capitalizing on this fear of abandonment with this Five of Pentacles that has kind of kept you from fully being able to have a clear sense of what it is that is your genius, what it is to operate out of the genius, communicate from that place of genius. And this happens to the best of us. And, you know, and this does seem like a really tall order, you know, for someone who's saying, okay, reverie, sort of getting back in touch with those things that I really desire through dreaming, and in that dreaming, letting that be prayer and seeking guidance through that, and just being able to sort of sketch out what could be possibly the most like beautiful life for you to step into with your purpose. And then feeling like what those, and then I'm having this conflict, you know, and instead of those dreams being like a free flow of like towards like, I'm seeing water sort of seeking its depth, I'm seeing it be almost like a prayer that is like fraught. Please don't let this happen. Please keep this from happening. Please help me with this. Oh my gosh, I'm so scared. Like that's what I'm seeing here right now. And so this feeling of like, you know, me being, you know, emotionally fulfilled and all of that stuff like has to get through this brick wall of panic. And that's from a lifetime of feeling unsupported, and if not in many ways, in at least some ways. And so if it's attuned to the call, time to tune in and turn on, there's a light switch being turned in, you know, a light switch being turned on. I wonder why I turned in. Oh yeah, you know, because you're tuning in a way that you never have before, and you're getting guidance and provision and support in a way that you never have before, and it's going to look different, and it's going to feel different. And for some of you, like you feel like there's a risk of losing or giving up on like striving really, really hard. That's nothing to worry about. You know, with experiencing and we are the world. And we're going to work on this together. You know, you don't have to take this journey by yourself. Like some of this stuff is like, okay, you know, again, I like the concept, but the reality is very harsh. You know, the climate is tundra, right? But with this experiencing and this we are the world, this speaks to a legacy. This is a card is like really saying to me, like, if you make it, they will come. That's what is that? Field of Dreams. So a lot of what this reading is sort of, kind of putting before you is this notion of, if you create from that place of divine inspiration, you are so unbelievably supported by a level, like, this is the ancestors, this is the divine, that's what we're moving towards. We're moving towards, being able to work with others in such a way that it holds you up, that it supports you, because you're not going to be creating from like you're just yourself, in some kind of void. There, the purpose of creation and doing operating like a spiritual practice through creativity. The goal is connection. The goal is connecting what you have for the world with the world that needs it. The goal is connecting what you genuinely express with those who can genuinely appreciate it. That's what it is to create as a spiritual practice, is to create with this goal of connecting to the divine through that inspiration that is divine, right? And so this is all kind of like the process that we're going to be working on together. And with this experiencing in We Are the World, through the experience of giving yourself this space, this reverie, it's going to be a little bit like, we're going to figure it out. We're working against a lot of conditioning, but the promise is here. And so you're being called to sort of flirt with the idea of a promise, that to sort of step into this kind of way of working, or operating, this operating system. So, the mother's saying to step into this different kind of an operating system that says, I can be supported, I can be blessed in an external grounded way, through request, by the divine. Like, this can actually happen. It is possible that through relationship with divine, I will be led in such a way where provision will be bountiful. That's kind of where we have this promise here with the 10, and again, this deck is like this really just feels like the world, and it is the world. This is the world card. But this is really about, like, allowing yourself to enter this new chapter, this new operating system. Because what I'm asking, the reason why the Morgan, or, the mother, this energy of mothering kind of asks you to, the sacrifice really is just, being willing to believe, being willing to believe in a way that brings the peace. And it is a kind of peace that passes understanding. That is a Bible verse somewhere, but that is what we're talking about. A peace that allows you to move through the world and be receptive, because there's not the panic, because there's not the, oh my God, I have to strive, I have to push, I have to do so much. To enter into that peace that you can carry into every external situation that you need to be in, requires a belief that you can be met in this way. And so, the cost of these blessings that are being sort of offered, in the way of, like, if you practice this, if you do this, then I will be able to reach you, I'll be able to show you. It won't be a by faith, it'll be a faith by sight. But that first, like, moment of, like, I believe that this is possible for me, is like your only necessary, because that's basically, she's saying, I believe this is possible for me, translates to consent for the divine to come and operate in your life. Because consent isn't just like, okay, you can do this, I'm saying these words and I'm writing it on a piece of paper. It's everything operates from a felt space. Spiritually, we're learning a language that is from feeling spaces. And so that peace and that belief that you can be met by the divine, that you can be taught by the divine, that you can be provided for by the divine. That belief that can be is the consent for the divine to sort of begin to work in your life towards these ends. And so with slowing down and rebirth, a lot of our habits, a lot of our conditioning is in opposition to what the operating system that I'm kind of like offering to you as a new kind of, she's saying, like, there's the structure of, like, this matrix of competition and comparison and capitalism and patriarchy and, and the organized religions that are, like that's all the opposite of what we're moving towards, in the way of there's divine protection, there's divine provision with each other, through each other, in an act of, in creation and inspiration, as, like, the divine operates through us in the world. And that this notion of slowing down during everything that you're doing If you have to get on work, you know, I have to get to work on time. Oh my God, I have to wake up early. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. I don't have time. Every time you're feeling that tyranny of the urgent, because that's an energy that you're holding, no matter what you are forced to sort of like do for work, do for a life, you know, contend with your body, the tyranny of the urgent, the panic in that is just not helping. And so when we recognize that one of the first things that we're going to do with this notion of stepping into a place of faith that says by faith by sight, I'm going to put my faith in this and I'm going to see the external rewards in that. The rewards, celebrate your magnificence, that's right here, does require a kind of internal slowing down. Even if, you know, she's showing me that, you know, if you're working really hard, you're in a flow state. But if you're at work and you're not really working hard, that, you know, in that flow state, because then you have this opportunity for reverie. You have this opportunity to bring that sacred trust into your body and into your experience and into that space. And that this leads to a death of the old way of doing things for sure, but a birth, a rebirth, a resurrection of your unique giftedness. And you all have unique giftedness. And you all have unique giftedness that has a place and a value in the world. And certainly a value to the goddess, or the mother, who will make use of it. And so the riddle, you know, over here on the bottom of the deck means like you might not know what this is just yet. And you might feel really, really exhausted with this whole idea of putting effort into anything. But, and it's a big but, if we're able to sort of like retract our energy from a system of judgment that says if I don't operate in a certain way, I'm going to drown under the constraints of the external structure that, you know, that is already tyrannical, that is the force of all this tyranny over my life in one way or another. And for some of you, it's just external forces. For some of you, you know, it's not like, you know, a financial kind of a thing. For some of you, it's a deprivation of a social nature. But what we're talking about in terms of the provision, this King of Pentacles is provided for to the extreme. And so to move you out of this place of exhaustion and cycles of exhaustion, to move you out of cycles of exhaustion means that this baseline, the place that you operate from, the operating system that you're moving up, like that is giving you that center of gravity within yourself, that operating system is one of peace. I know I will be taken care of. I know I will have everything that I need, and I know I will be able to operate out of my giftedness in a way that brings me prosperity, not just, you know, in terms of that King of Pentacles, you know, paying the rent kind of a way, but also in terms of you not burning out because you're doing something that you're loving doing with people who love what they do, and everyone collaborating together creates for the world in this way. That provision is there for you. And so that's what this reading is all about. And that's kind of where we're going to, we're not going to leave things here. I'm going to pull a little bit more, but basically, you know, what this message is for us in terms of our personal enrichment going forward is at a very baseline. We're starting with a premise that says that the same way that the mother provides for the trees and the flowers and the foxes and the bunnies and the squirrels, that same intent and energy exists for you, and that the mother is not too weak, too feeble, or too non-existent, or too detached to reach you where you are at. So there's a call into participation through faith that things can get, that you can have the connection and the support that you need. It's a big ask, but it starts with reverie and offering the divine that space in your life to work with you, through you, and have those changes filter into your grounded experience. And the promise here with the King of Pentacles. And so we're going from the King of Cups, where you're holding the I'm seeing Atlas with the world on the back, you know, having to muster all the strength that exists in the universe in order to, you know, get through another day, get through now, make sure that things are done, have it all, and just like that, you know, intensity. With the High Priestess, we are disqualifying the tyranny of the urgent. And when you're not in a flow state, you're invited into a reverie, into a daydreaming that's like a prayer with the divine. And from that space, this King of Pentacles, this is the avenue of provision that's going to begin to enter your life. And so that's how we're gonna leave this reading. I'm gonna get one more thing for us, and I just want to look behind me. 2 more things for us. Let's see, what time is it? Yeah, we're doing good. I'm gonna get one last little thing, which is gonna be our message, like direct message, like word message from the divine. And then we're going to do a kind of a prayer spell, you know. I know that there are people who are so there are folks who are vehemently against prayer and spell being interchangeable words because of, you know, how like Christianity took everyone's technology and then said it's ours, and now we don't like that technology because we think it belongs to Christianity. It doesn't. So the notion of prayer is really about connecting to the divine very generally, whereas spell, you know, work is more, you know, like a specific kind of a way to interact, but it's still a conversation. It's still an interaction. And so I'm kind of, you know, however the terminology does or doesn't work for you, what we're going to do right now is get a very direct message with like 3 or 4 sentences from the divine. And then we're going to do a kind of, I guess, a prayer spell. You know, we're just going to do it together to kind of close out and sort of seal these energies in a way that they can kind of like be a part of your life in a little bit more of a meaningful sense that we all kind of agree on. Oh, wow, that's really interesting. One more. 2 more. Oh, gosh, I love this so much. So, you know, on the, oh my God, everything is so good. Okay, so we've got, you know, the first thing the Spirit wants to say to you, you know, to close out this reading is like, I want you to begin to work on that feeling of worthiness associated with this ask. You know, that I can be provided for in those things that I do naturally and that are aligned with my purpose. Yeah, I can answer the call. We really didn't get too into stop and take in the view, take stock of the treasures you've earned. You know, this speaks to there's a treasure trove within you that has a place in this world, that has a purpose in this world, that is fully supported by all of the universe and all of the spiritual forces at play that are there to help nurture your growth. And so to begin to be at home with this notion of worthiness, and to spend, and in that place of reverie, to be at home with yourself and your longing and your hopes and your dreams, and to let Spirit into this hopes and these dreams, to allow Spirit to have an active place to participate with you, to communicate through meditation, through prayer, through spell work, any way that you communicate. Let Spirit guide you. So, you know, this worthiness, I am worthy of provision. I am worthy of love, and I'm worthy of being nurtured and healed in my development. And letting Spirit be your guide. Now we have watch your words and watch and wait. Watch your words. This is so much of what this portion, what this reading is asking you to do, is to take stock of all the voices in your head that are, oh my God, you know, what if I don't do this? And oh my God, if that doesn't happen, then this is going to be this is the only solution I have. If this doesn't equal that, you know, there's a lot of voices of tyrannical influence. If I'm late, then this person's going to fight. You know, all the ways in which you're used to being bullied by the tyranny of the urgent to produce, to make enough, to do enough, where you do have power right now. Right now is a kind of a sticky spot because we're taking stock of the view of what's around you. And what's around you might be a lot of demands, a lot of external forces that have a lot of demands on your life that seem completely non-negotiable. What you do have power over, though, in that moment and in all of these moments where the demand is sort of trying to extract, you know, from you, the demand will call you forth. And you know what we do is when we take stock of what's around us, we know that the demand exists. The demand actually exists. Where spirit meets you is in that demand as well. And so when we remove the bullying language from our minds, and I invite you to actually do this as an exercise. I've had people do this in readings before. I invite you to do this as an exercise. For 48 hours, you're going to cancel, refuse to allow any tyrannical thoughts to take hold in your mind. That's not, and the reason that I'm saying this is because even if you're like, oh my God, I can't do that, I have to, there's so many things in front of me. It's not that you're going to cancel out, you know, the need to respond to some of these demands and these responsibilities. You're going to cancel the voice that terrorizes you before it, during, and then after, related to your energy and the exchange of energy and what is and isn't there, and how unfair and how horrible. Any kind of tyrannical voices about the future being uncertain and having to, like, you know, for 48 hours, you're going to shut that down. And in its place, you're going to enter that space of reverie, enter that space of prayer. Even if you have to enter it imperfectly, you know, riddled with panic, you make that quiet time, because we're calling in the peace that says, I can be supported, I will be supported, and I will be met in that space of reverie, in that space of prayer, and the answers will become clear to me through that. Giving yourself that space, allowing for your feeling state to shift as divinity operates in that space with you to kind of help you feel what it feels like to feel supported. And then the effects of that is the inspiration. Oh, there's a solution I hadn't even thought of, or here's an opportunity that just rolled up and I didn't even expect it. So this is a practice, but with watch and wait here, you know, again, this whole reading is faith with that creates a feedback loop of this is valid, this operates to support me, so that it's tangible. So that it's not something that you're always aspiring to. None of the faith that we're talking about is aspirational. It's all a practice that leads to cause and effect, these rewards. And so when we step into this, you know, being at home with ourselves, feeling worthy, letting spirit guide us through the space of reverie, canceling out the bully voices that make it impossible for us to even conceive of what it would mean to be in a peaceful enough space to hear or do anything. 48 hours, no thoughts that are attacking you. A thought pops up that attacks you, not for 48 hours. No, thank you. And then just push it right out again, because you're making space for the divine to kind of operate when you do that. And so with transformation is beautiful and love is all around, this is an exercise that will transform your life. And it will prove to you that there's love for you, that love can reach you. You know, and even you probably have a lot, there are those of you that have a lot of love in your life, but that this is the love of the divine. And so this transformation that you're taking into a place where you are provided for, where you are loved, where things like just fall into place in alignment with your purpose, in alignment with the potential of what you were born to do. There's a love that is all around you that is eager and willing to support you. And you're not being asked to do anything else aside from step into this reverie, step into this prayer, you know, step into this place of interacting with the divine, and cancel the attack thoughts for 40 hours and just watch and wait and see what happens. And I really want to hear from people what this practice does, because it's going to do something different for everybody. And so we're going to end with a kind of a prayer. You know, I'm taking the technology back from whence it was stolen, you know, before a religion was cobbled together by, you know, taking pieces of all of the other religions. And we're going to enter the space of prayer together. And so I want you just to continue to sort of like breathe in to this. I want you to breathe into that space where you feel yourself being held by your body. And then I want you to feel your body held by the air around you. And then I want you to connect with that divinity that you find in any way that you find it. And I want you to be in that space right now. So take those breaths and make that intention and to move yourself into that space right now. And as we're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and I feel led to say that for somebody, there's a call to pause and light a candle. Not everybody, you know, like different things work for different people, but for one of you, you already felt it before I even mentioned it. And so this is kind of a confirmation that that's meaningful for you. For the rest of you, let's just keep on going. We are in the secret space that we are in. Oh, I love this. Oh my gosh. Is there anything more beautiful than when the divine comes through? Oh, this is so great. We've got these great prayer before us. I love what this is doing. Okay, so as you're breathing into that space of connection with yourself, connection with your body, connection with the divinity, you know, any aspect of divinity, even if for you that divinity is just that part of your essence that you recognize as you, you're fully connected. And I want to just sort of add something. You know, there are those of you that feel very comfortable connecting with deities and connecting with ancestors, and there are those of you that just don't. And so for those of you that don't, I want you to connect with the part of yourself that is infinite, that is already, you know, beyond time and space is a construct of the, you know, what we're, you know, involved in the way of cycles. But there is a, you don't ever end. You are an infinite creation, and there's a part of you that is infinite. So I want you to be able to connect. If you can't connect with other forms of divinity, connect with the part of yourself that is infinite, that has already lived the version of your life that you're living, that can absolutely facilitate and help you heal through anything that is coming up. So let's all, again, take these deep breaths in, connect to that divinity within yourself, connect to the divinity that came from, that is beyond that. And I want you to come into a place of agreement with the words that I'm saying. If you need to pause it and listen to the prayer before you agree to it, that's fine too. So come into this place of agreement. And as we're all in this place of agreement together, and it feels really beautiful, we call in the frequency and the energy of empowerment to support our ability to show up fully and completely, to unite us with others in deep trust that we are all connected through the same source of love that is here to support us. We connect to the frequency of romantic love to support our journey. And we do this in the way of reverie. The romance is such a big thing, Spirit. There's so much to romance that isn't just about two people falling in love. There's the romance of the morning light that falls through the window in such a way. There's the romance of the laughter, you know, in the distance. There's romanticizing our life. And so we're going to call in this romance, the frequency of romance, to support our journey to feel whole and complete. And we're also going to call in experiences with others that help us experience ourselves in reflection of a conscious other. We're also calling in the frequency of divine feminine energy to support our receptive, nurturing, and soft side, to allow us to express ourselves openly, to help us to connect to our intrinsic understanding of our connection to the mother. We call in the energy and the frequency of dynamic to support our ability to harmonize between all the layers and aspects of different origins and frequencies that are around us at all times. The positive energy of dynamic, we call that in to help us put our reality together in a way that's made up of very different elements, both familiar and new. And we call in this energy of dynamic so that we can do so with ease, with grace, and with great joy. We also call in the frequency of magic to support our intrinsic ability to grow and expand beyond this moment, to move towards possibilities and expressions that are as grand and profound as we are and we can imagine. And as we're doing that, and as we're calling in this magic into our life, we're also calling in the energy of a miracle. We call in the energy of miracle to support our belief in ourselves as part of something bigger, grander, more beautiful than we can possibly imagine. And we call in that energy of miracle to believe that anything is possible. And so as we do that, we're going to close this reading. We're going to take that last couple of deep breaths. And we're going to look at this bottom of this deck that says, make your dreams real. And we're going to believe that we can do that. And we're going to begin to dream very intentionally. And so I thank you all for being here with me. I thank you for this opportunity to connect. And I look forward to connecting with you more. And so with that, we're going to close this reading. Know that I send all of, there's this excess of energy here, and I'm sending this energy transmuted in the form of love, in the form of support, and in the form of ministry, like nurturing energy your way as we close out this reading and we close out this prayer. So mote it be, and so it is. I'll see you all again soon.